All right, so welcome everyone to our very first Tuesday in April, which is the ASC month. So we normally would be together in a day-long meeting at the NCCIA the day before, and we would all come in and spend a day going over multiple various things dealing with the Cisco Networking Academy. But we were not able to do that. I hope you were able to go to the online NCCIA conference, which I think was 2 weeks ago. In fact, I think I went to more sessions to the online one than I usually go to in the real one. Believe it or not, because usually I'd sneak out and go try to find a comic book store or a game store somewhere. But we are back this month, and we're going to meet every single Tuesday from roughly 4 to 6. We may not go the full time each day, but we're going to meet roughly 4 to 6. Today it's me. I'm Kelly Caudle. I'm the lead contact at the ASC ITC at Stanley Community College. So I'm the one you'll contact most of the time. If you look around here, you should be able to see there's two other folks here from Stanley. Brian Crump. Brian, wave your hand in the pictures there. And Michael Bowden. Michael is in his office there waving, and Michael is our new Frank. Okay, so Michael took Frank's place when Frank retired last year. So Michael is our new ASC support specialist, and he will be, many of you will start getting emails from him. I've eased him in this first part of the year because we knew that trying to learn, he's from a healthcare IT environment, so he's one of our graduates. I'm very proud of that. When he left here, got his CCNA, went out, actually got his CCNA a second time, then got a job in the IT field and started working at the hospital, and then came here. And like many of us, when we came into our job at community college, we didn't have any teaching experience. We had industry experience, but no teaching experience. So we've kind of brought Michael in a little bit easy and let him teach, and I'm not giving him as many academy functions in this first part of the year. Now he's starting to roll more into academy functions, and he'll be answering some of your questions, helping me with questions. He'll be the one that's going to be sending out the contract information and all after July 1st for your academy support fees and those types of things. So we're really, really thankful to have Michael on board. And again, I love the fact he's one of our academy graduates, which tickles me to death. Michael is also working to become ITQ qualified, instructor trainer qualified, and he will be teaching in our ITC along with many of you know Kirby Simerson. He teaches in our ITC, and Dan Abergetti and Brian and myself that teach in our ITC. Along with us today will be Jessie Pagan. Jessie is our CSR manager for the South region and military. He's in my upper left-hand corner. I don't know where he is for everyone else. We have with us also today, Monica Gomez is on here, and Monica is the CSR manager for Florida and some other states down in the southern region. And then Marie Zickbert is here, and Marie is our CSR lead that I deal with in the northeastern part of the United States. And each one of those, Monica will be presenting next week in what I call the state of the state, but it's really the state of the region. And then Marie will be presenting on the 20th. And then again, we will not have a Cisco presenter on the 27th. We will have presenters from the other academy programs that we help support. Echo Rantanen, many of you or most of you know Echo. Echo should be here shortly, we hope, and she will be doing our technical overview. And she's also, many of you, how many of you looked yesterday and saw that network security dropped yesterday? Anybody know that? Yep, it dropped yesterday. I didn't know it either until I was teaching class last night. And I said, now this is where you get information from the academy. And I was like, network security dropped. I was expecting it to drop sometime in the summer, late May, early June at the earliest, but they are overachievers, and it was actually dropped yesterday. So that is the quote replacement for ccna security, and Echo will be talking a little bit about that. So what I want to do here is our agenda. First off, our welcome and introductions. That's me. Then Jessie will give us a short CSR update, and maybe 45 minutes, may not, depending on, Jessie's got all the time he needs. And then Echo will pick up and run with the technical updates. And from then after that, we'll have Q&A. By the way, if you have a question, there's multiple ways you can ask it. One is, obviously, you can put it in chat. So feel free to go to chat and put your question in. If the question is a question that's too long for chat, you can also put in chat, hey, I have a longer question, can I unmute? I will then say, call on you and allow you to unmute, and you can ask your question. So that's another way. You should be able to, I don't know if we got the raise hand feature. I think we might have that. No, I don't think I've got that right now in here. But if you do have a question, you can put it in chat and then unmute yourself and ask those questions, or just put it in chat and we will try our best to answer your questions as fast as we can. Any other things that we can think of here that, Jessie, that you want to go over before? Okay, under reactions. So you can go under reactions and you could raise your hand if you want to, but probably also drop it in chat would be the fastest way for us to see it. So we are currently recording, and so without further ado, I'm going to pass the ball to Jessie. Jessie, you should be able to share your screen. If not, I'm going to stop my share, and I will probably have to you should be able to share your screen now, Jess.
Yeah, I think it's asking me to stop your share.
Yep.
Yep.
That's fine.
I will
go right ahead, and let me let Corey in. Corey's in the waiting room.
Let me know when that renders.
And we have it.
Excellent. All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Again, Jessie Pagan Jr. I am the Cisco Networking Academy manager, as my good friend and colleague Kelly said. I manage the states, and my apologies because I'm colorblind, but I think they're like in a light blue, maybe a little gray.
Yep.
You can see, yep, the Carolinas, Georgia, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. As Kelly mentioned, my two other partners in crime, Marie Zwickert is here from the Northeast, and Monica Gomez from the Southeast. We'll talk a little bit about some of the things that have been going on over the course of the year to date, fiscal year FY21, in the top three states that I manage from the Eastern Seaboard, North Carolina, the two Carolinas and Georgia. Just a couple of the things that are actually one project that's actually global, and then the other one that is more local to the Eastern Seaboard, so to speak. Just a brief reminder of some of the who we are and so forth, and just for those of you who might be a bit new or newer to the program, you can see some of the things that some of the metrics that we have on the screen. World's largest classroom, about 2.2 million active students at any time. 180 countries, about 25 languages offered. We're in about 12,000 academies worldwide at any time. And since inception, you see about 12.5 million students that we've educated over the course of the last 20 some odd years. Probably the most important number here is you guys, 28,500 instructors worldwide, keep on getting bigger as we speak. So let's talk a little bit about what's been happening in North Carolina. So this impact report was actually, the snapshot was taken back almost towards the end of last year. Still holds quite true. You can see specifically in North Carolina, students about 10,000, female enrollment student-wise about 17%, certification ready about 15%. I would love to be able to get that number a whole lot higher. Students since inception, about 90,000. We have about 170 current instructors in the great state of North Carolina. 20% of them happen to be female instructors, and you see some of the other metrics there. About $34 million in-kind contribution, IKCV. In-kind contribution value that the Cisco Networking Academy has given to education in North Carolina. It's not on here, but just so you know, in the entire U.S. since inception, almost $1 billion with a B, $1 billion. I think we're at about 890 million since inception. That's an enormous number. I'm not going to go through these in detail. But suffice it to say, we have 73 schools in North Carolina, many of them ISDs, community colleges, vocational, universities, and so forth. You probably see your college there somewhere. If you don't happen to see your college, just remember, we take this snapshot sometime during the year. This one was actually taken September 25th or somewhere thereabouts. And if you don't see it, it's probably because it just was not, you did not have an active school at that time. But don't fret, we do have you in the program. Let's talk a bit about Georgia. In terms of the three states that I was going to discuss today. So Georgia, about 4,500 active students, 23% female enrollment. I think that the big number there, the big 23%, is because the Army is located in Augusta, Georgia. Typically and historically, the Army has been up until about 7 or 8 years ago. It was the largest Cisco networking academy in the globe. Of course, with emerging markets and so forth, countries, they've gone a little bit lower. But in any event, that's why that number is so high percentage-wise. Certification readiness, about 20%. Students since the program inception, about 46,000. Current instructors, about 65. 26% female instructors in the state of Georgia. We have about 34 academies there. And you can see in-kind contribution about 21 million. And then this jobs, much like we had in North Carolina, U.S. students who complete our career courses leading to certification, obtaining a job or higher education level. That is incredible. We're very proud of that, and you should be proud of it as well. It's only because of you that students go out and are able to garner those highly coveted jobs, right? Georgia Net Acads, about 34. Again, not going to talk about those much, but if we do have some folks that are actually teaching in Georgia, you more than likely will see your Cisco Networking Academy there. Lastly, but not least, great state of South Carolina. About 2,200 students, 18% female, 15% certification ready. We'd like to get that a lot higher. I think we've been working on that. Current instructors, about 40, 23% female enrollment. And then we have about $9 million in IKCV. And again, about 92% of U.S. students complete career ready courses will obtain a job in somewhere out in the field. South Carolina Net Account schools, about 18. Again, if you're teaching in South Carolina, I'm sure that your school is there. And if you happen to be a brand new academy or a reactivation academy, you're probably not there, but very assured that your school is active at one point or another. All right, so let's talk just a little bit about student participant growth. Year to date, meaning since last July, end of July, beginning of August, to the end of March. This is what the year to date for fiscal year 21 is. As you can see the numbers there, North Carolina, I separated them out. North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina. There's about 10,000 students, more or less, in the state of North Carolina. Look at the growth. 2,300, close to 2,300 students through March of this year, March 31st, and which amounts to a 30% increase in student enrollment in North Carolina. I have to say that things are going very well in North Carolina. The growth is largely attributed to a huge growth in Linux, very nice growth in cybersecurity, and about a 400% growth in Python. That is just unbelievable, right? But I think that the work that Kelly Cottle has been able to do in terms of independent school districts, and we've actually met with North Carolina Department of Public Instruction for a lot of the great work that he's been able to do and carve out. We've been able to grow that Python. He's gone out and recruited many high schools, and they're teaching Python. Kelly, please correct me if I'm wrong. I want to make sure that I'm not speaking out of line here.
Yeah, I think just this past year alone, there's been like 25 or 26 new Cisco academies in high schools in the state of North Carolina. They have adopted as their second level Python class for NCDPI, the Programming Essentials in Python. So what we're hoping to see, folks, is that you will have students coming to you very soon who are much more proficient in Python, which should help them with any of their cybersecurity classes, any of the programming classes they're taking from you, and hopefully just help them in general with the ability to think in a programmable / logic way. I know that's probably not a word, but it is now. But that's what we've been working on at the state level. So a huge amount of work to get that going.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kelly. As you can see, we still have about 25 days until the end of Q3 in the Cisco Networking Academy fiscal year. It'll end 25 days from today. And I always like to share this information with everyone just because of the great, incredible work that our NetAcat contacts perform on a day in and day out basis. The instructors who are on a day-to-day ensuring that they do as much as possible to get their students to learn the material, enroll the students, the academies, the leadership within the schools. Obviously, I couldn't do my job without Mr. Kelly Cottle and Brian and the rest of the folks over there at Stanley Community College. You do a tremendous job out there. And you see, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to also jump in, Jesse. One of the things you'll notice here, our growth in IoT, folks. If you remember last summer, we offered the Intro to IoT and the oh goodness, somebody help me out. The next IoT course, and many of you are using the IoT courses now as your fourth course, or at least as part of a course at your schools. So you'll see the growth there from 226 to 562. That's all your work. That's where you've been using those classes at your school. So we cannot thank you enough for that. And if you're in Georgia, you're in another school and you're looking at something to use, obviously DevNet is a big one that we're bringing online now, but those IoT courses, especially now since they don't have any instructor training requirements, are very easy for you to add in to your curriculums. So that's a possible growth avenue for you. Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Yes, I was definitely going to point that out. And if you see here, specific to North Carolina, Linux, Cyber, and Python, but then Georgia, so North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina included in these three here, and pretty much they align, right, with much of the work that Kelly and you guys have been doing, and then boom, then all of a sudden IoT shows up at the bottom here. And it's just the growth, like you said, Kelly, from 226 to 562. We still have 25 days in Q3. So, you know, I predict that we probably are going to see, you know, maybe double digits in Georgia, high single digits in South Carolina. I like to talk about this because I think it's important across the board. Normally, I forecast about 5%, stretch maybe about 7%, and then aspirational about 10%. We're blowing it out of the water in North Carolina at about 30%, right? And we might even see 40% by the time everything's said and done by the end of the quarter. Projects, NetAcat projects across the board. As I mentioned, we have a very big and very important project in the north and southeast of the United States and parts of the Midwest and the HBCUs. There are 107 HBCUs in the United States, and we are trying to do as much work with them as possible. It is part of our CEO's overarching social justice initiative. And what we are doing is we are providing the HBCUs instructor training on a scholarship basis in CCNA 1, 2, and 3. And we have cohort 1s and we have cohort 2. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then we also have a girls in ICT that I'll talk about here in a minute. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about how this whole instructor training scholarship came about. So Mr. Kelly Cottle, along with one of our partners, NDG, most of you probably know who they are, they knew that we were in the process of working out, trying to get this HBCU project off the ground. And Kelly and Rich Week, who's the founder of NDG, came up to me one day and said, hey, we would absolutely love to be able to be part of this great project. And how about if we were to offer a scholarship in CCNA 1? I was absolutely tickled pink. I brought that over to my leadership, and everything took off from there. We were able to procure some grants to match some of the offer that Kelly and Rich were able to provide for us. And what you're looking at on the screen is the result of a lot of hard work by Kelly, by the folks at NDG, of course, Marie Zwickert, just feverishly working with many of her HBCUs in the Northeast, Monica Gomez, the same in the South, and then myself in leading this particular project. We're offering the HBCUs, CCNA 1, 2, and 3. You see the dates there. I just want to make sure that everybody knows, because, you know, a lot of times we have these particular projects, and what happens is it just kind of flies under the radar, and then you have folks like Kelly Cottle who just gone the extra mile in trying to help us out with this and providing remote access and just bending over backwards to ensure that they're part of helping this great and very honorable project. So there's the second cohort, just a little bit offset from when the first cohort started, which started on April 1st. First CCNA course in second cohort starts on May 3rd. The last of the three courses, CCNA 3, is going to be the same one for cohort 1 and cohort 2. We are also offering, I have another partner with whom I work all the time, much like I work with Kelly and Gabe Berryman out of ESC 11, very good colleagues. And they're offering for the HBCUs the first cohort of the Cyber Ops Associate, much like Kelly's doing with CCNA 1, 2, and 3. And then we are going to try to bring a Cyber Ops Associate second cohort, yet to be determined, but Lord willing, it definitely will be happening. We just don't know exactly what date, maybe around the October timeframe. Oops, what happened there? Okay, this other incredible project that we've got going, it's an International Girls in ICT Learnathon. I'm sure everyone in this meeting probably has heard about it. Not sure how many of you have been able to register for this, but Cisco celebrating what I call the Girls in ICT Day. It's an international day around the globe that starts April 22nd. And basically, it's a project to motivate girls and women to consider STEM. Right? We love it when we see a very high footprint percentage-wise in our Cisco Networking Academies, female footprint, because we see that then the females are females that are loving STEM and are studying the STEM courses, and we love to see that. Much like I love to see the veterans enroll in Cisco Networking Academy, love to see the high female enrollment. Okay, Talent Bridge. I don't know how many folks on the call know this particular. Does somebody? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
was there a question?
Jump in just real quick.
Yeah.
Trey saying he's just seeing you and a title slide. You should be able to, if you click on View, you should be able to go to the standard view and be able to see the actual slide presentation that Jessie is giving. Is everybody seeing the slide presentation? I just want to make sure. Nod your head if you're seeing the slides that Jessie's doing. Okay, so that try that, Trey, just so. All right, sorry, Jess. No
worries, no worries. As I was saying, I don't know how many folks on the call know this particular program as Talent Bridge. Talent Bridge is basically a way in which we connect our students with the digital workforce. The Talent Bridge program basically is a matching engine. Again, it's a way of us being able to match students that are Cisco Networking Academy students with partners that we have within the database. Typically what happens is a partner will go out and they will place a requisition for an opportunity within the matching engine, as you can see here. A student that is part of the Cisco Networking Academy will have already placed their information, their skill set, their resume, so on and so forth, and created a profile for themselves. And then what happens is much like you'll see happening in other matching engines across the internet, is this matching engine will match a student's special skill set with that particular partner's offering, and hopefully they can then meet, have the interviews, and so on and so forth. It basically automates the relationship between the partner and the student. The student is looking for a particular job, and the partner who's looking for that particular skill set, right? It's a global platform. We've had a tremendous success with it. Marie Zwickert, my colleague in the Northeast, she's on the call right now. She just had a wonderful career fair that she put together in the Northeast, tremendously successful. I had one in November out of, I believe, maybe 50 students. We had 2 students get hired. I have another one coming up in Texas, the 15th of this month. I have another one coming specifically for HBCUs on the 22nd. And Kelly Cottle doesn't know this yet, but I'm going to call him up and I'm going to say, hey, Kelly, how about if we do one in North Carolina, one in South Carolina, and one in Georgia, and see if we can get some students online. And basically what we do is much like Marie has done. I think Monica's actually done one as well. We try to get a number of partners on the call. We invite all the Cisco Networking Academy students. They go into this Talent Bridge, and they start putting in all their information. We invite all the students from a particular state, and we also like for them to fill out their profile. And last but not least, we also like to make, and I'll come back to this other slide for LinkedIn. We also like for them to go through the career workshop presentation. And when I send out my invite for the webinars, I say, hey, please go through the career preparation workshop. It's a self-enrolled course. You can go down here and have the student click on it's a self-enrolled course, and they can go through it. It's about 8 to 10 hours to complete the course. But once they're done with that, they're really ready for starting those interviews. And when we have the conversations with the partners, they really are more apt to ask the correct questions and more prepared when they're coming to the particular webinar. The last thing that I would like to share with you today is I highly, highly encourage you and your students to find us on LinkedIn. It's super easy. Just go to LinkedIn, type in Cisco Networking Academy, and then click on follow. You will have a tremendous amount of information that gets broadcast on LinkedIn. And I'm a member, obviously, of LinkedIn, and I am following the Cisco Networking Academy, get an enormous amount of information through there. Okay. I think I might be a little early. It's about 4:35. Kelly talked about the preparation, and I think that is the end of my presentation. I thought that I was going to be early, and probably will. Yeah. So
no problem at all.
I'll be happy to have a Q&A. Anybody have any questions for me? I wasn't monitoring the chat. Not sure if there was anything on chat. But again,
Jessie, wasn't nothing on chat. Monica did leave, and an echo is here now. So
yeah, I saw that.
Okay,
and I actually just posted, Marie. I actually sent out a I think I've actually put in the correct link to the recording of Marie's online meeting. So it's in the chat now. So if you want to try to go there, I was able to get to it. So it is available. And you can review that online career fair, which was an excellent thing.
Excellent.
So
I do want to mention one thing, Kelly. This is completely off topic. I wanted to say at the beginning of my presentation, I feel for you, Kendra, and I think Constance and some of the others that are hurting. Their arms are hurting from the COVID shot. I had the Moderna shot, and believe me, I could barely move my arm both times that I had the shot. So I feel your pain. So it'll get better. It'll get better.
all right, and I'm the same way. Mine was so sore last week. I was having a lot of trouble. In fact, I missed this meeting. I think I may have put the wrong link, but I'll get the right link to that meeting for everybody. I think that may actually just be a meeting with another college there. Sorry, Marie, but I'll get that to everybody.
Okay.
But, yeah, the first one I had no problem with. The second one I was in pretty rough shape.
Yep.
I felt pretty rough. So hopefully,
I definitely agree with you. I have a middle son who's a big boy, and he texted me. He's like, "Dad, I can barely move my arm," and I said, "Pal, get ready for the next few days because it only gets worse." So anyways, I wish everyone all the best.
sounds good. Thank you very much, Jesse. Any questions?
Thank you, guys.
Anybody have any questions about the growth? Yeah, don't use that link. Sorry, that was the wrong link. So don't use it. That was an actual link to a meeting that we had with another school. Okay, we'll get it printed.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you, folks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Kelly.
Yes.
Kelly, real quick. I noticed your growth in North Carolina being so huge, and and you're talking about teaching in high school and having. How can we do that as not being an ASC? How can we offer this at the high school level, and teach like that?
You can offer any course you have to high school students. We have here in the state of North Carolina a thing called somebody might help me out, but it's dual enrollment basically.
Yeah, we have that too.
Have that.
I'm kind of thinking back to the old, the way we used to have it when we taught with the networking academy. We taught the high school teachers. They all came in as a regional academy,
right?
And so
what
we're
we
not
can
training the trainers, we're training the students now, right?
Right.
Okay.
Or what we could do too, if you have good contacts with local high schools. I mean, obviously we can get them in touch, and then you can help mentor those folks there locally. We have had the state kind of came to me and we're looking for something for their second level Python class. I would love to actually do the same thing in Georgia, South Carolina, and in all the areas that we support. I'd love to see them actually look at adopting the Python class. And so, it's really kind of a gateway too, because then we can get them doing Linux Essentials. So you think about a high school student doing Linux Essentials and Python, and the beauty of both of those classes is they are self-contained classes. In other words, you don't have to load any software on your local machine to teach either one of them. So in this COVID environment, they're excellent courses to be available. So, we can work with you, Steve. If you've got a group down there, honestly, if you've got a group of 8 to 10 instructors, I would even subcontract you to teach a class for me to teach Python to them. So you just let me know, and we can do something like that and that way you've got kind of that local relationship with them. Because one of the things I want all of you to know is that my goal is to help grow your number of students. So whatever we can do to get the high school students in your area to come to you, that's what I want to do, because that's really what we're trying to do. So, but yeah, it's called Career and College Promise in North Carolina. I mean, you probably have the same thing there, Steve.
And Kelly, I want to reinforce what you just said. Marie and I have been fortunate that we have some really great partners. I'm not talking Medicaid partners. I'm talking about channel partners, right? The folks that are actually doing the hiring. And let me tell you, they are always talking about Linux. They're always talking about cyber. They're always talking about Python. If you were to do just a quick search on Python, on Indeed.com or cyber or Linux, I mean, the number of jobs available it's just unending. So I highly encourage to Kelly's point, I highly encourage folks at independent school districts that if you can offer those courses, that would be great for your students.
Hey, Kelly.
Sorry, folks. I've got a phone call trying to come in. So yes, go ahead, Maria. I'm sorry.
So I'm just going to reduce. I'm posting the box folder with all the employee presentations from our career fair. And folks, we had 6 channel partners and 2 representatives from Cisco. And as Kelly posted, there's over 2,000 early in career jobs available, and they all value the skill set that Networking Academy students have. So go and download those slides, and each partner put a link to all the jobs that were available, and share that with your students, because this is a great opportunity. The second thing, Jessie talked about International Day for Women, and there's also a free webinar that's taking place on April 22nd. And it's how women are using technology innovatively. So I posted all the information in the chat. So go ahead and copy that. And I've attended these sessions, and they're amazing. And you know, men can join as well, but we're trying to obviously increase the number of women in our program.
Thank you, Maria. And I'm sorry I posted the wrong thing. Don't go to that one. That's just a meeting with another college. I apologize.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep. The other thing I'll mention too, folks, you know, we had the Learnathon. In my mind, we won because we had 179 or 169 people. I just failed miserably because I didn't have you do an actual assignment. So if you'd have done a quiz, we would have easily won. We end up 3rd, but I learned from that. We'll win the next one. So, but I do greatly appreciate that. So, all right. Oh yeah, this is a good one. Did Jessie, you just post this, or who is this just shared? Salaries by certification level.
You're on mute, Jesse. Can't hear you.
My apologies. I should have had this slide on my deck. I don't know why I didn't make it, but this is just here recent. In February, I took a quick snapshot of salaries by certification levels, NA, NP, and then cyber ops. Obviously this is across the U.S. And you can see they start, you know, with IT support at about 43, and then they move on upward, right? And of course, you know, it just, all of this depends on, as my colleague Maurice Rickert pointed out to me while I was presenting at another webinar, it all depends on the amount of expertise and amount of background that you have, and so on and so forth in the years. But just, this is a very impacting slide for students. There's not a week that doesn't go by that I don't get the question, how much money can I make if I pass the Cisco certification? Here it is in one neat little package for you, one neat little slide. So this is something that you can use if you'd like. Again, with a caveat, it does depend on your background. It depends on how long you've been doing this for a living. But again, I think that very early in career, you can start, you know, around the 40 mark if you have 1 or 2 certifications, right? Nowadays, I think everybody knows, you know, you really need more than 1 certification, and you really need to have, you know, at least a 2-year degree. So anyways, just want to make sure that I share this with you.
Excellent. And folks, I will be getting my hands on all the slide decks and trying to get those out to everybody. So we'll try to, Jess, if you can add that one in on your slide deck, that would be excellent.
Yeah, I definitely will. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Jessie before we switch over to Echo? No questions. Anybody chat, or anybody want to come off chat? All right. Well, Echo, I have made you a co-presenter, so you should be able to share your screen and share your files presentation directly.
All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right. My camera's wigging out.
That's okay. You don't have to have the camera on if you don't want to, but that's
Well,
totally
it was on a minute ago, and then it just kind of quits working in the middle of a session. So let's see. Either green Post-it note. Nope, that's not it. Wrong camera. Okay.
All right.
We'll go ahead and do it. So let's see. We're going to share my screen, and let's share screen 2. And I have a presentation that nobody's seen. Those are the best kinds of presentations, don't you think? So this was not going to be part of my presentation today, but I just finished this deck and I'm working on a recording. So I thought, what a great time to share this with you guys. So back in November, December, we worked on getting what we call the NetAcad SE Connect available, where we had a system that we could match instructors with our system engineers. So anytime I say SE, think system engineers. So think the geeks of the Cisco world. This project is now in phase 2, and we're working in just the Americas. So if we look at North America, Central America, and South America. So it's not global, so I can't really put it on Facebook. I can't really do it in IPD week. So I'll start sending out some direct communications to partners tomorrow, so they'll have this information. So just to go through these a little bit, just hit the high points. Really, it's about connecting instructors with the SE community. And it's really about what things do you need in the classroom. So we put some examples on here. It isn't necessarily the only examples that you can utilize, but maybe you want to share professional experiences or career advice. So you're saying, hey, come tell us, how did you get to your job? Maybe you need a technical presentation. So you're in the middle of talking about network automation and you feel a bit lost and you're like, wow, could you come and maybe demo the DNA center in, your D-Cloud environment in Cisco, just to give us a better look at what does it look like in a real environment. Maybe you have a student event coming up. Now, everything right now is virtual. So Cisco at this point has said we will all work from home, minimum basically to the end of July, which is the end of our fiscal year. And then it will depend after that. Now, a lot of us in NetCat have always worked from home, but even the SEs and those customer facing salespeople have really been working from home unless it's a critical. And then maybe there's some kind of mentorship or something you're interested in, or I had them add this one down here that says basically other engagements as requested by the instructor. So this will be live fairly quickly, and I will give you the slides, Kelly, so that you can post them along with this recording. They'll also be posted up on NetAcad, and I'll show you where. So it's just a simple form around your information and then describe what you're wanting inside of this. And it comes down to you submit a request in our kind of pre-filled form. The SEs are looking at the database weekly or every couple of weeks. They'll go in there and do what we call claim a request. So they'll be like, ooh, this guy wants to hear about 5G. So I've got that presentation. I've done it 100 times at customers. Let me tweak it to make it available to students. Then basically the instructor and the SE volunteer will work together. So there'll be, once he claims that, there'll be some emails that said, this has been claimed. Here's who you're going to talk to. And then we let you guys decide when you're going to meet, when you're going to talk, how much time is required, how much detail, all the things that you would normally do for some kind of presentation. The SE would complete the engagement, and then basically we have you guys do feedback for us. Now, volunteerism has always been important for Cisco. In our regular employee contract is we have 40 paid hours to do volunteer work. So they pay us basically for a week to go do something for any kind of nonprofit or any group that we want. So that fits in really well with the SEs. They can use their knowledge. They're interested in the students in NetAcad, so we can pair these up. The recordings and everything isn't quite updated. So if you go out there now, you'd be like, but Echo, everything says November. So if you go to cs.co/SE Connect, that's the one thing you'll want to remember after this. Everything should be up, hopefully tonight or first thing tomorrow morning. So I'm doing a short recording with these slides. This deck will be posted. The link to the form submission will be posted. So all that's coming up quickly. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys saw that deck and thought that was important. Any questions on SE Connect? And let me see if I can pull up the chat window is floating around here somewhere.
I
I'll
do
just
want
let
to mention that this, we had one of the SEs present last year at our NCCIA, who was out of Raleigh, and he was one of the folks who helped with phase one. And I think some of you actually took part in an SE Connect over the past year. Did anybody do that? If you did, put it in chat. I know I had one or two who had said they were going to request an SE.
Good.
But
We do apologize if you submitted something and it didn't get aligned. So the gal that was managing that project basically gave her notice right around the time we were making all the connections. So she was on the way out and we were trying to jump in and get everything done. So we've kind of vamped it up, made some automated stuff. Hopefully it'll become much easier. All right, perfect. And then this is my desktop. This has been my desktop since, I think, Kelly Cottle, you text me June 2019 from Cisco Live opening ceremony when Jack Robbins said, we're going to redo certification. And you text me and said, how come I don't know about it?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So it's been a ride, right? LMS changes, our platform changes, new classes, new certification. So I keep thinking at one moment in time, I'm going to take this off, but I don't think so. And I'm hoping that every network instructor that teaches has a folder like this. This one says Windex. That is what happens to all the things on my desktop that I didn't want you to see right before I present to instructors. So I used to call it clean. Now I call it Windex because I thought it was cooler. All right, so Kelly said, Echo, let's do some technical updates. And I look at my available slide deck and say, well, I could do 6 hours of technical updates. Let me pick 45 minutes. So I'm going to go through what I have here. We'll see what the timing is. Kelly, what's my stop time again? Just give me a heads up.
You've got until basically 5:45, so you got plenty of time.
Oh, okay, yep, because I think Jessie ended a little early, so perfect. So I'm going to go through a number of topics, but pretty much anything is fair game here. Let me open up chat again. So if you guys have questions, need things that aren't on this list, just let me know. Kelly, I'll let you kind of tell them to me again. My chat panel keeps going behind something else. So I'm going to talk about IPD Week. Network security came out yesterday, if anybody noticed. The CCNA 702, a couple ideas that you might still be able to use some of those materials, even if you've already started a 701 class. We have a new programming essentials in Python, some LMS updates just to make sure we're all on track. Just a couple slides on Webex for Netacad and then some miscellaneous stuff if we have time. So you guys probably get tired of hearing about IPD Week. Yes, we tell you about it all the time. It is our team's way to try to keep you guys up to date on things that are being released. What are the current updates? We will have our 4th and final for our fiscal year, IPD Week, May 3rd through the 7th. So it's coming up here in about a month. That scares me because of all the things I have going on. We are still finalizing a couple sessions, but I wanted to highlight a few. Kelly, you'll probably appreciate something I did about 2 years ago. I'm going to redo it and update all the slides. I did a Netacad equipment deep dive. Kelly, I knew, grabbed those slides and has used them over and over again. So I'm going to redo that session. It's going to talk about Netacad maintenance. It's going to talk about iOS. It's going to talk about, we've got some end of life announcements coming up for switches. We may not have all the information ready, but we have identified in our regression testing some models to replace the 2960 and the CCNP switch as well. We'll talk about Webex for Netacad, a couple things that are coming along there. We're going to talk about maybe some Webex best practices. So if you have been eligible for a Netacad account, and I'll show you a little more later, then how are some people using Webex? A lot of you have just jumped on whatever bandwagon worked for you. And maybe summer now you're ready to switch to the Cisco product since it will be available through the profile to activate. And we hope to have more integration as we move forward. We're going to talk a little bit about value of certification. Now I want you guys to know I'm going to try something different. I have 4 sessions that I'm hosting and setting up and running, and I'm going to try to push them to students. So watch for a registration link. Most IPD is for instructors only. We're going to make 4 of these sessions available to students as well. So those 4 are basically right here, the value of certification. I have an SC that I've been working with that just went through some instructor training for NetAcad. He's going to do a Wi-Fi 6 and 5G technology transition by Cisco. So it'll have some technical and the transition from where you are to where you're going. We'll have some kind of real life examples of wireless. So the guy's going to do a campus. I'm finalizing the name of this session. He's going to do a campus implementation of wireless and how it's laid out. And then I've asked him, instead of just giving us design type stuff, we're going to really look at some different case studies that are out there. I have 3 Meraki personnel that are going to do this from NetAcad to network engineer. These 3 are basically, we're all NetAcad students. They were hired by Meraki, Cisco Meraki. They're now taking instructor training. So they were students, but they're being mentored through instructor training with me. And they're about to become instructors for their internship group that comes in June. So it's really kind of a cool journey. Hopefully something I hope to kind of repurpose in multiple areas so you guys can share with your students. And, I told them, they're like, well, what exactly should we present? I said, well, what would you have liked to have heard if you sat in your presentation? So that's what we're focusing on. We're going to try to unmuddy the waters about Cisco modeling labs, the versions of those. We can't really talk about price on a session, but we can talk a little bit about the options associated with that, and then just lots of other sessions as well. When you go into the class, you'll see this is the home page. You'll see the February information up first, kind of in the upper left, and then the November, December, and October. So they're all there for you. And then we also try to, highlight and feature certain sessions that we have along the way. So let's talk about network security. So network security has been on the roadmap for a while as a named replacement for CCNA security. This is not a new course. This is CCNA security with an updated name change because there is no certification anymore, right? So in this update, we did not have the bandwidth to rewrite the course from scratch. So it is still based on the CCNA security outcomes and objectives, but there's no certification anymore. So we didn't go back from scratch and build a network security from scratch, which is what I've been asked. Some people have asked me this over the last couple of days. So this truly is CCNA security with an update. And like CCNA security with an update, it has the same kind of layout. We didn't want to rock the boat or anything. So if you look down here, ASC alignment is required, yes. Is instructor training required? Yes. Do you need physical equipment? Yes. Is there discount availability? No, because there is no certification alignment anymore. Now, anybody who was CCNA security credentialed received their network security credential last night. So we released the class about noon Pacific, but the script didn't run till the evening last night. So if you've gone through CCNA security training in the past, you can open a network security class. Okay. And then you can see in here, there's a few other details. Basically you need to, the previous requirement was CCENT. We don't have CCENT anymore. So we put in here basic understanding of basically the ITN and the SRWE in that case. It does have a badge now. So that was something that was added, and I'll give you a few other updates as well. So here's the badge for network security. We moved from chapters to modules. So as you know, if you teach CCNA, you've noticed that all of our curriculum is getting into this new GUI format, and we've broken it into modules for better content organization. Sometime, hopefully in the future, then we hope to be able to move around those modules and do creative things with them. We're not to that point yet. There are 20 videos in the class. There are 26 of those. We call them check for understanding, but they're the quizzes embedded in the course curriculum that you take and you look at your own score. Okay, what did I not do right? Do I go back and read this content? We do have the module quizzes that are in the course itself when the GUI. There are 25 labs. There are 22 packet tracer activities. It breaks down into, when we went to modules, we couldn't put a graded exam inside of the course template, because we would have had to gone from 11 exams per chapter to 20 exams per module. We just didn't have the bandwidth to do that. So we've grouped them like we did with ccna. It does have the secure dynamic final. It does have a packet tracer skills assessment for activation, and it's got the skills final. Now, those of you that have played around with Packet Tracer 8, it probably looks a little different to you when you load either a PTSA or a Packet Tracer activity. So you'll see here that there's a window, and I'll show you some other screenshots. But this is basically, a base topology. We do have packet tracers. An interesting component is we did pull in some of the cyber ops in the VM into the security. So we didn't have money to rebuild curriculum, but we could reuse some of the pieces and parts that we already had developed in other classes. So if you go in there, you'll be able to see the course itself. You'll be able to, if you go into the scope and sequence document, it'll break down, where did that curriculum come from and what did we pull in for that VM. So it's not the whole course, it's just the stuff that's kind of base security type stuff. We had really long labs if you guys have taught CCNA security. And so we tried to break those down and divide them up a little bit. More packet tracer activities where we could, and then refresh the lab content. We did remove AnyConnect, which has been nothing but a nightmare for us, let alone you guys, because as a subscription service, it used to be free, then it was subscription service. So we put it in Netacad maintenance. And then every year around January, they reset it, and we don't have access for everybody in Netacad too. So we're still working on access to this, but we've removed it as a requirement. And we also, there's some old stuff in here that we left in case you still want to teach some of it, but some of it's outdated, like the ASDM. So accreditation, basically anybody credentialed to teach CCNA security is credentialed to the network security. That includes instructors and instructor trainers, Kelly and Brian in the group. And then instructor training is required. So just like it was in the past.
Echo, Harry's got a question. Harry Bulbert brought up a point. Most of, including my curriculum program, we dropped the CCNA security when the certification went away.
Yep.
Harry brought up a great point. What are the key changes that would be a potential reason to add it back to curriculum courses?
Well, it kind of depends on the focus of your degree or certification. So, if you really need an exit point of a certification, it's not there. This doesn't align or map closely to anything that's already out there or on the books. But if you are looking about, increasing the security level based on you already have the equipment, right? It doesn't really cost you any more to do the security class. I do think that the security class has always been strong, other than having some outdated content in the last year or two. I think it's been strong in just building that foundation of security that we don't have in some other classes. And not just building the foundation, but doing it, right? You can find places to learn it, but can you do it? Can you use Packet Tracer? Can you do it on the equipment that you have, either through NetLab or others? So I think there's some, great components there. But the problem we found, especially in the US and Canada, is we're really kind of cert driven for a lot of Perkins money and for certification classes. So across the globe, most people didn't care that CCNA security went away. They wanted the content, and they thought the content is basically getting their, getting them the background curriculum and understanding of the material they need for their degree. So I know that was kind of long-winded. In some people it'll fit great, and other people it don't. It's some people are like, well, we teach cyber ops instead. I'm like, that's a whole different ball of wax, right? It depends. Are you the guy that's trying to be the threat, defender and looking at it and trying to figure out what it is and escalating it, or do you want to be the guy out there cleaning up the policies and setting those policies? So a whole different kind of focus there.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I think too, I added in on the chat, if nothing else, if you just pull the ASA labs out of this network security and added them in, to maybe another course, that would be a way of at least taking some of this content and using it in a way that would be useful, because otherwise your students won't see an ASA really in your program unless you've got another course that's teaching the ASA. So,
or if nothing else, go grab the ASA packet tracer lab out of the instructor course materials, and you can do it in packet tracer, right? If you don't have an ASA or the equipment associated with it. We did a lot of looking at, the request was a name change, so it wasn't a rewrite necessarily, but we looked a lot at, do we replace the ASA? Because it's not really, there's a newer version. It's not really being sold in some areas. We have a whole different kind of set of firewalls, but we just, in a name change, could not look at making anybody update equipment or spend money on any new equipment. It just didn't make sense, especially in, this world that we're living in right now with all the things that we have going on. Yeah. I always used to kind of sneak in other classes and pull a few things out and have my students use them. So if you want to do that, I'll show you kind of how to do that with some of the CCNA 7 stuff here in a minute. I see that one post here was about a Cisco modeling lab demo in Prezzo. We're going to have one, and Kelly can sure do one, but we're going to have one as part of IPD week. The cost point for some people is great. For other people, it's terrible. So kind of depends on your school. And then Kelly's had some great pilot that he's been working on and some access. So Kelly could get you more information around that. If you do want to ever price out Cisco Modeling Labs, which is CML, which used to be called Viral. Everybody goes, oh, I heard of Viral. I haven't heard of Cisco Modeling Labs. Same thing, just had to change the name. You really just go to the partner that you buy the Cisco equipment from, and they will get you some pricing. It's kind of based on, nodes and number of connections, and there's some differences there. That's why we want to do an overview of the different licensing for sure during IPD week. Okay. Yeah, the ASA is in the CML. And, one other thing you can do, I've got a number of people included, Moises from Portugal, that teaches some CCNP and some security classes. There is a Cisco Modeling Lab sandbox on the DevNet site. And all you have to do is reserve it and you can do labs. So he had his students, especially during the pandemic, for some of his CCNP classes, as well as some of the ASA stuff. He had them go out there and just reserve an hour or a couple hours on the sandbox on DevNet. And then basically they would take some screenshots and just send them the information of what they're done. So that's kind of a Band-Aid way too. If you're just looking at going out and getting your feet wet, the sandbox is a great way to play around with it.
I think Moises is in Brazil because he's used our CML beta pod.
Yes, sorry. Yep, Brazil speaks Portuguese. My fault. All right, so let's talk a little about CCNA 702. Kelly, I'm going to go on what I have here. I don't want to repeat too much, but I kind of think a lot of people don't know what we did and how we did it. What are your thoughts on depth here for CCNA 702?
I think it's definitely worth going over because it is a little different. So
okay. Just want to make sure,
not
because I
everybody
never
was
want to
at
repeat.
IPD week, so I think it's fine to definitely cover it.
Okay. Now, so this is the session deep dive right after we released the class that we did for everybody. So we wanted to make sure you didn't have to wait for the next IPD week. So we did a special deep dive. And if you go out to the IPD week course, you'll find the full recording. So it's a full 60 minutes with demo and everything in there. But I wanted to kind of hit the high points. So CCNA 702 was released along with Packet Tracer 8. Now, a number of things were updated in Packet Tracer 8. But the main focus of Packet Tracer 8 was called, the enhanced physical mode. It was, how do we find that solution for our instructors when you can't get to the equipment? So these two released at the same time. If you haven't seen it yet, Packet Tracer 8 is great. There's a couple of gotchas that I'll give you here in a minute. It has this whole enhanced physical mode where you can take things from shelves, drop them in the racks. You can grab different cable types, connect them up. So it's really ramped up physical mode. So if you're like, God, I really wish my students would do more physical, we're not standing in front of the rack, how do we do that? This is the way to do it. So even if you're not teaching 702, you can have them download and use Packet Tracer 8. Here's 2 gotchas. You ready? If you're a Mac user, there is an issue with the drag and drop feature in Packet Tracer. So here's what happened. You're on your Mac, you open up Packet Tracer, and you can't drag this device off of this shelf. It just sits there. This is a third-party issue for Mac with Packet Tracer. How do you reset it? This sounds stupid, and don't ask us how many minutes it took us or hours to figure this out. But if you open up just an Explorer window with files and folders, grab a file, drag and drop it somewhere, you reinitialize that drag and drop feature in the Mac, and it'll start working again inside of Packet Tracer 8. Stupidest thing ever that came across. It didn't happen in production when we built it. And we started hearing about it, and then it took us forever to figure out what it is. So if you're on a Mac and all of a sudden you can't drag and drop anything, just go out to an Explorer window, drag and drop a file, it reinitializes that third party. So I know that sounds odd. A few other things as far as wireless display that we ramped up. There's a colored gradient now instead of the grid that you've seen in the past. Different colors for different wireless types. And it'll also range across containers, right? So you'll see kind of the bleed here out of this building out into maybe the parking lot. This green here is actually the cell tower side of it. And then there's lots of custom icons in some of the things that were done. There's a new instruction window. So inside of Packet Tracer, if you launch it on the left, a lot of times you'll see the topology appear, and it's pinned inside of Packet Tracer. And then you'll see, so this is the topology, then you might see the addressing table and the task. You can grab these, oops, sorry, don't click. You can grab these and unpin them from Packet Tracer so that you can have them wherever you want. But we wanted to try to have the topology always showing, right? Because if you had the instructions and you scrolled up, now you can't see the topology. So trying to have things like the topology and the addressing table in their own little sub windows here. And then the task, the whole thing down here, right, again, unpin them if you like. There are 2 sessions I'd recommend if you're ready to dive into Packet Tracer 8. One of those is basically called the network controller for PTNA. Now, how best to explain this? So we didn't have the network automation fully integrated into Packet Tracer yet, but we needed it for DevNet. So in the DevNet VM is a version of Packet Tracer you can only get in the DevNet VM. It includes network automation. So we weren't ready to blow out and have a whole new version of Packet Tracer. So we went ahead and did this session early on. Everything in here is applicable for network automation. The nice thing is now maybe you can play around a little bit with network automation with your students because we don't have a whole lot of that going on in the CCNA classes. Then in February, we also did a Packet Tracer physical mode deep dive, which talked more about all the kind of bulleted points that I showed you. And some new features in Packet Tracer that you can use. So those are each a full hour long. So there's lots to cover. So why did we do CCNA 702? It was really around how do we fill that gap? If your students can't walk up to a rack and plug in some cables and do layer 1 troubleshooting, how do we mimic that? Well, we decided to basically beef up Packet Tracer and then give you some resources in CCNA to be able to teach your students. So let me kind of go through here. So inside of all 3 CCNA 702 classes is a video called Download and Install Packet Tracer. Not too hard, not too exciting. This video is probably one of the best videos around for you to learn all the physical mode features in Packet Tracer. And about 6 minutes and 50 seconds-ish is when it starts talking about physical mode. So the first half is kind of the normal Packet Tracer getting started. And then the last half is the physical mode side of this. Now, if you create a CCNA 702 class, you have to use Packet Tracer 8. Every Packet Tracer in the course was touched with 8. And I think you know by this point that if you save it in a newer version, it does not open in an older version. Now, one thing I had is people were like, so can I get this video anywhere else? What if I want to use Packet Tracer 8, but I don't want to create a CCNA 702 class? You're welcome. As of last week, I worked with a product manager. They'd been planning to do this, but they kind of kept dragging their feet because nobody had asked for it, but I had 3 or 4 requests. They wanted to know if they could get that tutorial without creating a 702 class. So what happened here is they put it in the tutorials. Tutorials, you might be thinking, we have tutorials in Packet Tracer? We do. So inside Packet Tracer, just go help, tutorials, it's the very first thing. So this is the exact same video that you'll find in 1.0.4 inside of the new 702 classes. And it's a great overview. It was done by Justin. You may know Justin Valentino. He now does not work for Moraine Valley. He now works for Meraki. I don't know if you guys knew that. So this video is great if you're trying to learn the new material, because what a lot of people have done is they're using 8, but not the class. And they're like, well, I don't know how to plug in a console port. How do I get to the back of the router? How do I flip the router? How do I zoom in? How do I connect the cables? So this is a great video to get you through that. What is PT router? Give me a heads up. Kelly, what are you talking about?
Inside of Packet Tracer now, you can drag out a device. It's called the PT router. In fact, it's in that first 1.05 Packet Tracer. It's like it's a device. I'll pull it up and get it pulled up, show it to you. But it's a device that's it's like another hardware device that's now inside of there instead of just your normal Packet Tracer or the routers that are available. So
I'll have to go back and take a look at that. Last time I looked, last time I played with that was probably 4 months ago. And now I can't remember the differences between it and the others. So maybe we get a chance, I can launch it here and show you.
That'd be fine, no problem. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so we updated Packet Tracer. And so what do we do in the class? We went through and evaluated every lab inside a CCNA and looked at what percentage would Packet Tracer be able to support. And for those labs that we felt mostly was supported by Packet Tracer, maybe we had to ramp up a little bit in Packet Tracer, we created now when you see PTPM, it's Packet Tracer physical mode. The acronym probably shouldn't have made it into the curriculum because the official name is kind of enhanced physical mode, but it's a nice way to search. If you search for PTPM, you'll find them all very easily in the curriculum. So here is the PT version, and then here's the lab version that you've seen previously if you have the CCNA 7 going on. So this is the instruction set, and this is the PKA that you can have your students complete. Now, all of these start in physical mode. Their logical mode is locked because the goal of these labs is pretending that you're walking up to the rack, you're plugging stuff in. All right. So there's some great labs in here. Remember, everything in here does require that you use Packet Tracer 8. The other thing that was done, and I have another deck. I might send that to you, Kelly. It's not included in here. I just finished it for another conference presentation. We did 5 what we call exploration scenarios. Now, these explanation scenarios don't all have items that your students have to complete, but they allow them to go in there and explore different networks. So there's one in Introduction to Networks in Module 4. It's basically this physical layer exploration. So it's having you do things like an IP config, and then it has you do a trace route, and then it has you, so you do some stuff from your PC, some stuff from within Packet Tracer, and it kind of helps you understand the naming conventions and the trace routes and what is all that information associated with. These are best used with the 64-bit version of Packet Tracer 8. The reason why is because of the custom icons that are embedded really ramp up the processing power that's needed to run these in Packet Tracer. So if you have students that you don't think can run the 64-bit version, then maybe you walk through and do some demos of each of these. Also, we added an additional PTSA in the class. So we've always had the practice. Now we have a final PTSA if you want to use it. We updated all of the PowerPoints that had, we didn't touch every module because not every module had an updated activity. We addressed any lab or erratas that fell in that too. We didn't update the course necessarily, but all the labs, anything that had been reported, we fixed in the system. So how are you going to use this? Some of you may be in the middle of a semester. Some of you might be starting some new training coming up. So let's look at two versions of this. You could create a new CCNA version 702 course. You know, if you're 3/4 of the way through the course, maybe the last thing you want to do is move everything over. But please note, it would require PT8. You could then assign the physical mode and exploration activities. It does include the video, but now the video is available as of last week outside of this, but it does have that extra PTSA final. But let's talk about the realistic version of you not wanting to create a new class, which is probably where a number of you are, unless you're on a quarter system, but we don't have a lot of people on quarter systems. So how about you continue to teach the English 701 version? All right, sounds good. So what do I do? Well, have your students download and install Packet Tracer 8. Point them to the video in the tutorials so that they can understand how to use physical mode. Then introduce the physical mode and exploration activities however you like in your course. Where do you get them? You get them in course resources, right? Go out to the course resources, download the entire zip with all the Packet Tracer activities. There you go. You can pass them to your students, all of them or just part of them. So you can still use those activities. Now, the other thing that's popped up in Packet Tracer 8 is the home gateway router is an issue with PT8 versus PT7. So if you do have your students install PT8 and you have problems with a home gateway activity in either IT Essentials or IoT, the only way around it is to look at the config in 7 and then in 8, delete that device and put it back in. I know that's not a great way to go around it. So I have somebody who said, all right, what if I don't want to create a class, but I still want to use that new PTSA? I said, well, I would use your class, your 701, been running it, you feel good about it, all your customization is there, you don't want to do anything different. Then just create a 702 class and take the PTSA. And then move those grades, so you have one item activity, move those grades into your 701 class. So there's a couple different ways that you can look at this. I would recommend looking at PT8 and looking at this physical mode. It is, to me, phenomenal. It's probably one of the best things that we had come up in Packet Tracer in a long time. This is the list. I am not going to cover these, but I wanted them in the slides. So there's the ITN information, there's the SRWE information, and there is the ENSA information. Couple differences in the template, just so you'll know. If you do create a 702 class, please note that we have this system test exam. It's about 5 questions. We're now going to put it in every course that we create. And basically all it is they go in and they try to do all of the sample types of assessments. So there's a drag and drop, there's a single answer, multiple choice, there's a multiple answerable, multiple choice. There is a Packet Tracer launch. So it's just a way to kind of test and get them comfortable with assessments before they take them. We also, based on feedback from you guys as instructors, broke down the course so that you now have sections around the groupings of modules. So I don't know if you remember before, or if you think of your class now, we basically have all the group exams together in a topic. And we have one link where you launch the curriculum. We broke this down into these sections or topics so that you guys could add your own customization within that section of anything else that you might want to teach while you're teaching that module 1 through 3. And I just wanted you to see the differences here and how it's broke down. So now the practice exams are kind of their own section. The final exams are their own section. And then this is the new PTSA here. If you are not wanting to do PT8 and you don't want to do CCNA 702, if you go out to this link, You'll find a couple activities that Bob Sampson and a number of group worked on before we really were even into COVID days. And there's a couple activities they can do in physical mode in the earlier version, the 7X version of the packet tracer. It's not quite as beefed up as the new one, but it is doable. So let me see, Kelly, any questions pop up on PT8 or CCNA 7 that we need to talk about?
I think we're clear
All right,
right
great.
now.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew about a month ago or so, we released a new version of the Programming Essentials in Python course. Basically, overall, it is similar in layout as far as number of, well, I shouldn't say that. So we had 6 chapters back then. We now have 8 modules. It's broken in half. So it's half is PCEP. So this PCEP for entry and PCAP, the A being associate. So there's 2 different certifications in here. Here, I didn't provide all the slides that we did in IPD week. I didn't want to bore you guys excessively with this. So if you take a look at the first 4 modules are the PCEP, or they're calling, Python Essentials 1, Python Essentials 2 within the course. It still has the, VM in there, so you don't have to have them install Python. You don't have to have them do all that extra work associated with that. So I didn't put a lot of slides in there. If you go out and get the program slides for Python, it'll have all of that. Or if you have any questions, just feed it through Kelly, and I can get you additional information and additional slides.
I want to make a quick update too on that. One thing I've noticed, Echo, is if you had created a Python class before the switch to the new experience, and you still have that, we're seeing some people in that Canvas-based Python, the links are breaking. And so you may want to just create a new Python 2.0 class, and I'm seeing that fixing the issues with that. The other thing, I'm looking for anybody who has the MTA in the Python to help me gauge how the MTA, which is the Microsoft MTA in Python, how that maps or doesn't map to this Programming Essentials in Python. So if you do have that, email me and let me know so I can talk to you a little bit about
yeah, and
how
Kelly,
close they are.
I am meeting with OpenEDG next Tuesday, and one of my requests is for them to do the mapping for us.
Okay, excellent, excellent. That's
so we'll see if we get it, because it's something that so the Microsoft cert it's kind of going away, but it's mostly just moving more than anything. But right now, if you just do an overall look, it's a little bit more than PCEP, but less than PCAP. So it's somewhere, it's somewhere in the middle of these second set of modules. So if we could get them to align it for us specifically, and if people already have those course objectives, then they can maybe use this class and just replace it. So I'm glad to hear that, and hopefully we'll have some more information for you guys next week.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. LMS updates. So you're probably tired of these. Yes, did we change LMS in the middle of COVID? We did. This train was on the track and going really fast long before COVID hit. It might seem like it all came out during COVID, but this has been in the works for quite some time. Probably the biggest reason, which doesn't, affect the US, is Canvas is not available in all countries. People are like, well, why not? Something about the legality and the company and where it's approved. So we can't use Canvas in a number of countries. So we had started using some Moodle versions of things in certain countries because we couldn't use it. We couldn't use Canvas. So we needed one, and then now we're trying to manage 2 LMSs, and it just will allow us more programming freedom once we get some more time and get all the bases done. So if you think about Canvas, people will be like, well, I can't add this app in Canvas. I'm like, well, our version of Canvas has been so customized that it no longer is the version that accepts that app or that, add in to Canvas. And every time we had to update, we had to go back to the Canvas group. So we're hoping, as we kind of get through the growing pains and the switching pains, and I get it, I didn't like it either at first. I looked at it and went, I don't even know how to edit my class. But after stumbling around a little bit, I feel pretty comfortable with it. Hopefully you guys are getting to that point. But this is super important. Kelly heard this, I think, last week on the global partner call that we had. Because we're getting rid of Canvas, we are getting rid of Canvas. So what does that mean? That means all Canvas classes will end July 31st, 2021, no exceptions, none. So if you're in the middle of something and you need it to go past July 31st for whatever reason, create a new class, finish out in the new class. I can't stress this enough. And also, you know, when I say this, the first thing everybody gets upset about is, well, the students can't get into the alumni information. They can. So another thing people don't necessarily know is in NetAcad under resources is this Alumni Courses. Now, I don't have any recent courses, so when it comes up, it says I don't have any courses that I have recently taken. But if I'm a student and I just finished, you know, a couple ccna classes and those have been archived and I can't get to them anymore, they can go in here and enroll in those courses that they finish. So they have to finish them with you and be marked complete. Then they can go out and use basically the curriculum to study for certification. So that's one of the first questions that people ask me, you know, what happens on July 31st for students? As we move into September 15th, all courses on the old LMS are going to be archived. That means you're not going to get into those anymore at all. And you won't be able to access them after September 17th ever. Now, yes, we have the backend support desk. Yes, we are archiving stuff. Yes, we have information. But if you have stuff right now inside of Canvas, you've customized, you need, it is time, it's time to heads down, maybe as the semester finishes up and the summer starts, to get into everything you have and make sure you have it somewhere else. So this is the end of life, and not only the end of life, we're going to bury Canvas 6 feet. So yes, is that an issue for people who've had access to our classes for the last 20 years? Yeah, we understand that, but we can't continue to support Canvas and move into this new world. So just a couple things that the LMS team has put up here: complete all your Canvas classes by July 31st, pull all of your customization from these courses before they're archived. Make sure you finalize all the grades in the grade book, right? That's important before that date as well. And then I would export your grade books. This is something we haven't required people to do, because even myself, I mean, I go back and I think Kelly took the ITQ 9 years ago, and I can go back and see what Kelly did on that ITQ. So I had to go back and export certain grade books that I needed. So this is just something that you should put in your normal flow. Yeah, it's painful. Yeah, it's not what we used to do, but it's where we're headed. We can't keep Canvas live in the back end. It just isn't feasible. Anything pop up there, Kelly, other than why are you doing this to me?
No, but I'll also add, even with the new experience, I would say making exporting the gradebook part of your process is important, because when classes are archived, you then no longer have access to the full gradebook. You only have access to a subset of it, which is basically final grade. So if you need to know what they made on module 1 exam, you're going to need module 1 through 3 exam, you're going to need to have that exported gradebook. So I would suggest you get those exported and locally on servers at your site as a normal process for all of your classes, even those that are not in Canvas, those in the new experience.
Perfect. Yeah. And then this, you know, these 3 links are helpful. There are some pretty good videos out there. I know everybody wants the answer now and they don't want to watch the video. Probably the most asked question I get on Facebook and email and Messenger, because once they find me in Facebook and friend me, they like to message me in Messenger and on Webex Teams, is how do I complete the course? So those videos are all out there. If you find that there's a repetitive thing, Kelly, that they're asking you all the time, let us know. Maybe we can add another video out there.
Right. And a great question is coming from Mike Smith. He said, as the NetAcad contact, can the admin automate exporting all courses from our campus? They cannot, to my knowledge, but that would be an excellent thing, Mike, to put as a share idea. If you're aware, once you're logged into NetAcad, on the right-hand side, there's a share idea. You can click on it. You can share your idea, and then people can vote on those ideas. So it'd be something to be neat as an administrator to be able to click and say, hey, all the classes in this time range, export the grade books or all the information in it. something I would suggest.
Okay. I moved the header over, so hopefully you're still seeing the same screen. What he's talking about is this share ideas over here.
Yep, that's
Now,
it.
what's that?
Yes, that is what I was talking about.
Here's the issue. Yes, if you have an idea, let's put it in share ideas. I have a feeling you can put it in, but between now and July 31st might be a push
Oh, no.
to get it all done, right? So don't count on it happening, just in case. Try to get as many things exported as you can. Yeah.
Agreed. But this would be a great thing to have even in the new experience.
Yeah. So
it's
don't,
worth putting on that.
yeah, definitely put it in there. I don't know if there's any privacy issues behind that, but Cisco could try to figure that out if there was. So, yep. Let's see. All right, let's talk about just a few more. So we were lucky enough the end of last calendar year to get our own version of Webex for NetAcad. And basically, just to give you a heads up, really the eligibility, and this is changing a bit, but I wanted you guys to know that they're what we call CCT courses. So if there's a certification from Cisco associated with it, it basically works, right? So the CCNA, the CCNP, the CyberOps, the DevNet, as well as I think CCNA security / network security is in there. This is a full enterprise capability. So you get meeting center, training center, event center. There are, I think we had talked about 1,000 attendees, but I think some have gone above that with certain licenses. I know that we're shooting for more in IPD week and we're using one of these accounts. And really probably the most important thing, this is an older slide, but the most important thing down here at the bottom when you get the slides is this takes you out to the link where you'll find everything that you need. So let's go there. So if you go resources, instructor professional development, AKA IPD. And we look here and we go, there's IPD week. Yeah, I don't want to look at, oh, hey, let's just say this is Webex. It's called resources for virtual learning, which is one of them being Webex. So if you click on this, you'll be able to see up here, here is the FAQ documentation, which is probably the most important. Poor Kristen, who's on the call with us, she also covers the US with me, gets to update this, it seems like every couple weeks. And so this will tell you if you're eligible. The biggest stumbling block has been that the people who want to request a license already have an existing Webex account out there. So what does that mean? At one point last year, when you guys were trying to figure out how to teach online, you may have created a free Webex account. Your email cannot be associated with more than one Webex account. So people have had to go out and delete that. They've also had to delete, if you use Teams, Teams is now integrated into Webex. So you also would have had to delete or change the email on that account. So most of that information is in here in the FAQ. If you get super stuck, contact the support desk and they'll help you out. So we are in the process. So Kristen and a small team, very small team, have been manually processing these every few weeks. So they run reports, find the people who are eligible, they send out the activation emails, the people activate or they never get the activation email because they have an old Webex account. So we're super happy that at some point soon, hopefully in April, as long as we're on board here for the next week, I would say 7 to 10 days, we'll start having the ability in your profile. So this is profile on NetAcad, not Cisco. This is your NetAcad profile. In here, you will see a window that tells you you're either eligible or not eligible. So I gave you the eligible slide. And it will say you are eligible to request a license. You can request it, have to put some information in there, and then you have to actually activate it after you request it. So this is coming very soon. Thanks, Kristen. April 15th has been confirmed for the automation process. Excellent. Now, we are sticking with CCT. It is possible that we open it up to other instructors. We're kind of testing it, working it, adding a few more. So we may see other instructors be eligible. but we want to get the automation process done first, because think about thousands of accounts that you have to manually try to set up in the system. A couple miscellaneous things. You guys probably saw the outage coming up for Netacad. We are updating, Cisco is updating some of the back-end processes. You should not notice a difference. This is not like last time when we updated single sign-on. This is more about the back-end side of this around security. What do you need to know? Usernames will be discontinued, which means you can't use the username that you've had in Netacad forever. You have to log in with your email. So that's going to be the biggest change. And on the Netacad itself, there's that link you can click on to update, login coming, and then you can see the news and event, and they've been updating this when there's anything new or changed. This last piece, and then depending on time, I could show you a couple other things as well. For years, many of us have cussed. Kelly, I know you and I have been in this position since I taught Cisco for 10 years before I took this job 9 years ago. Oh my God, this student has an activation in some other class. And because of that, you couldn't activate it for this student. And then all of a sudden you're trying to find what class this student took and who was the instructor. So a while back, we didn't really tell anybody that we're doing it, because all that should have happened is made your life easier. We removed the global instance of assessments. What does that mean? That means we no longer look for that student to see if they have another assessment in the entire system. We only look for that student in the current class, and that did away with all of that, conflicting activation nightmare that many of us used to have to contact the support desk. So it seems like a minor adjustment, a minor update, but yeah, to me it was huge, especially for the amount of tickets that we got on not being able to activate. All right. I think that's mostly it in. All right, I got another slideshow I can open up, but please, in the meantime, start asking questions, and I'll just show you a few more things that I've been working on. Let's see.
Echo, one question I've got is previously I've had an issue where I think with the new CCNA, you can only have students take the final exam 3 times. Is that the maximum that has been set globally?
In the 702 course?
This was back summer. When I first noticed, it was summer of, or last time I talked with the Navy, so I guess I've been summer of 2020, Kelly.
Yeah,
That was probably 7.0.
7.01. It would have been, yeah. So basically, we had instructors there, and what we got with the Navy, it's a little different. They have to make like a 90 plus on the final.
Oh.
And so we needed more than 3 activations, and we ran into a wall there on that. So I don't know if that's still a global thing or not.
And that was part of, when we moved into version 7, we moved into secure activations. So it changed the ability to kind of, for the students to view, and even for the instructors to view the questions on the activation. And because of that, they probably cut those back. If that continues to be an issue and you're still having that for whatever reason, drop me an email, because they set based on what they think is needed out there, and these might be just one-off cases. But if it's something that is keeping people from being able to use our resources, we can always go back and look at. I can't guarantee you that it'll change, but if we have a good use case, why was that put in place, or why did you need that change, then yeah, we can definitely look into it.
Well, it's if you go and you activate the exams, you still can do it for what, 5 times, Kelly, I think.
Oh, they can only retake during that activation 3 times.
Yes, but I mean,
Right.
even after that, even if you try to create them a new exam, a secondary exam, it's still it's max of 3 between it.
Max 3 period. So it was a max of 3, and it may be something with just ITCs would need.
Okay.
So
I see. Yep. Okay. We can take a look at that. Other questions? Don't be shy. If I don't know it, I know who does. Well, I'm going to watch chat, but I'm going to keep going. So this is a slide deck that I completed as part of a recording for another conference, but I'll sure send it to you if you'd like, Kelly.
Please do.
A lot of people were asking about those 5 scenarios that we created in 702. And you don't have to create a new class to get access to these, right? You could just go into course resources. So these are the scenarios that were not meant really to be graded items, but these were meant to be things that your students can explore, look around, maybe you do it as a class. So there is one of them in the first course. There are 2, one is data center, one is wireless in the second course. And then there's a multi-area OSPF and a network security in the third course. Now remember, these are those activities that require the 64-bit PT8, mostly because of the size. Be patient when you launch them. There are a couple of them that you think Packet Tracer has quit responding, and it says not responding, but it will open, especially this massive data center version. Some of them have graded items, but others don't. The goal of these activities was not to grade people on it. It was more around building networks that you guys can use to start a conversation or to ask students questions. So this deck is not the recording, it's just the deck. But what I did is a lot of people were like, I don't know if I really want to show them what's included. So I did take the time to pull out all of the parts and the steps in each of these scenarios so you guys could see what's required. So this is the one that's in ITN around, you know, what's my address? What's the address of my router? What does my public address look like? Using trace routes between some of the stuff in Packet Tracer, looking at the different hops and trying to research, you know, that information. So I went ahead and put all these in here because this is what I wish I would have had if I started teaching or wanted to see if I was going to use these. So this by itself may or may not be helpful. I'll share it with Kelly. Here's the data center one. It does have some graded items. So what you do in part 1 is you explore the data center. Then you basically start creating a expansion plan for the data center. And then in the third part of this, you actually create a new rack and you put in the servers, you come up with an IP addressing scheme, the display name, the host name. This might be kind of a little fun activity that, you know, is a piece of like a capstone or something like that. So I have one of these for each of those scenarios. I won't spend a lot of time on them, but I will give this to Kelly. So that you have them. The OSPF one I thought was kind of cool because it starts with this company only needs single area OSPF. So it's 3 different packet tracers basically. Then they do multi-area. And then in the third one, the students have to add area 2. I did like the fact that the team was having some fun and one of them is area 51, just in case. And then that's the network security one. So any questions, anything else you guys want me to cover?
We do have a question from Mike saying the limitations on PT features and wireless devices, for example, the wireless LAN controller. Is there a chance to add or unlock more features down the road for the wireless LAN controller?
There is. The way to get updates in Packet Tracer is to hit us from all corners. So inside of Netacad, you can put in a support desk ticket. It's probably not the best way to get it in front of the team. But inside of Packet Tracer, you can go to help, report an issue. You're like, whoa, 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 I don't have an issue. Well, but you can put an enhancement in this form. Even though it says report an issue, instead of an issue, you can go in here and type up what you would like to see added to that. So remember, Packet Tracer was never meant to cover all of wireless, CCNA wireless back then. It was mostly just enough to get you through CCNA in most cases. But as wireless becomes more pronounced, you might want to take a look at what's there and ask for some enhancements. So you can do that. The other thing you can do, which, you know, isn't always as fun, but you can get this in front of the Packet Tracer team by going out to the communities. So if I click on the question mark and go to community forums, I've logged off. You can go back out to the communities and type in some, you know, enhancement requests. They will see it. I think truly, you can see all the security we have with Cisco just to log in. Truly, I think putting it in that form, it will get sorted and put in front of a lot of people. So that's probably your best bet.
And also, folks, some of you have asked where the communities moved. This is where the communities have moved to now. So that's how you access the communities. If you had any of the communities beforehand, they've all been moved into the Cisco communities area. So
Yeah, and please note, if you go in here and you click on community forums and you get a big red access denied, know that there are a small percentage of accounts, and we haven't figured out why, that during the transition lost access to this. If you just drop a ticket with the support desk, they'll quickly get you access to that again.
Now,
So the other, yeah, go ahead.
For actual packet tracer issues where it's grading possibly not being done correctly, do you submit that to the help desk, or which?
Yeah.
What do you recommend for that?
So think of this PT as the software programming team. And when you put something in here, something's not working right in Packet Tracer, like it's got the wrong output, or it crashed, or you want some enhancement. But when it comes to really wanting to fix the PKA activity because there's a problem or there's an error in the curriculum, then you should really go to Netacad support. Now, I hate Morgan as much as you do, but it has saved us thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in support fees. But what I usually do, now I have different access, but if I go in here and I pull up Morgan and I just type in agent, you can type in anything you want really. So I'll just type in agent and it'll come up and I get my answer, then just say no. Then it says, did you contact Kelly? Well, I don't want to contact Kelly. I can just go straight to the support desk. So I just told you something the support desk doesn't want you to know, which is the easiest way to bypass Morgan. But there are some tickets that Kelly can't help you out with, right? There's certain access things and accounts, and he can give you all the helpful hints possible, but when it really comes down to it, there's just some things that have to go straight to support. So if you have errata, which are errors, then put them inside of Netacad in a support ticket. So I just go in here and say, make sure you know the curriculum. The biggest problem with errata is people leave stuff out. Like they say in 732, this word's wrong. Okay, well, what course was it? What version of the course was it? What language of the course was it? So as much detail as you can provide is helpful. The other thing I don't like about our support, is that what I'm spending the whole time on, is you can't really attach a file, but what you do is you create a ticket, you get an email, it says your ticket's created, just attach the attachment to a reply to that email. So that's one thing I keep asking for is, can't we have an attachment button here when we create the case?
And the other thing, again, be as specific as possible. I have people email me all the time saying, well, just like you said, in 735, I'm having this issue. And I'm like, cyber ops? I'm teaching 10 classes, people. So yeah, when you put these issues in, be as specific as you possibly can be.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Kelly, if you want, I will share a couple recordings that I just did for a different conference. I don't know if you have a place to post these.
I'll send them. If you send me the links to them, I'll send them out via MailChimp, definitely.
Okay. And of course, it wants me to re-enable. So I did a kind of a quick overview on the physical mode in Packet Tracer. I did a demo on the 702 so that you knew what was different inside of 702. And then I did the recording for this set of slides that you guys saw. And I just did a couple demos and I opened each Packet Tracer to show you what was included. So.
Okay, excellent.
Perfect.
Any other questions, folks? I want to show, I'm actually going to share my screen for real quick. Echo.
Perfect. So thanks, everybody. I'm going to hang on till we're done and answer any questions that you have.
Thank you so much, Echo.
You bet.
Everybody, I want to show you, this is the communities. So in other words, if you had got into the communities, this is what you would have seen. So there, Netacad announcements, general courses, learning tools, and Packet Tracer. So that is the communities. And Echo, what I'm talking about with the Packet Tracer router is this one right here. This guy right here, which is just a new device that's shown up.
Yeah, we added that partly because of all of the different kind of edge WAN connections we needed.
I figured, and you can't even really drop this in, folks. But notice there is now a Meraki server that's down here. So, and a network controller. But the PT router cannot even be added as a device, but that's I figured that's what it was. It's just a generic.
Yeah, it was
router.
put in there as a quick band-aid for all of the connection types we needed for the scenarios, like the cell towers and all that kind of stuff. So you're right. I remember now which one it was once I saw it.
No problem at all.
You bet.
Okay. Thank you so much, Echo. And now, one last thing here, folks, I want to throw out to you. First off, thank you, Echo and Jessie, for being here today. And thank all of you for being here for this very long session. I know it's a long time, but I hope it was informative. Over the summer, I hope you know we've offered, through the use of Cisco grants and grants through our NSF, we have pretty much provided close to 200 instructor training slots for free in the spring for instructors. And by the end of the summer, we will have provided close to 300 slots of free instructor training through our instructor training center. There are only 7 slots left in the summer's DevNet, which will run from June 2nd to August 11th, and only 8 slots in CyberOps Open. If you have an instructor or you want one of these classes, and we also are offering ccna 1 through 3, 7.02, just be aware we've only got 25 slots left in the NSF grant funded slots. So that's all we have to be able to do over the summer. But we hope you will be able to take advantage of those, and we'll come take some classes with us. So,
And that'll finish up the NSF money, right?
that will do it. They'll definitely finish up the NSF money for the entire grant. So we will be out of money at that point, folks. So I apologize, but hopefully we'll be able to get another grant. Next week, just real quickly, obviously welcome introductions. Monica will be presenting on her area. I'm going to talk a little bit about equipment ordering. I'm going to do a DevNet deep dive. I'm going to walk us through pretty much the chapters in DevNet. I will show you my DevNet beta pod that we have built. That is actually the DevNet VM and the 1000V and a pod with a little router there to help. Actually, it's a firewall, but we'll do a DevNet deep dive. And then again, Q&A. So we have our next meeting next week, 4 to 6, roughly same time. And we hope that all of you can make the meeting then. So thank you, everybody. Again, thank you, Echo, so much. And Jessie, really appreciate all of you being here. I'm going to stop the recording.
Thank you.
So I'm going to stop the recording.